Hello, horror fans. I'm Ghastly.
And I'm Gruesome.
And today we're doing a special Minisode commentary on
the off-Broadway production of Little Shop of Horrors happening right now at the Westside Theatre.
Woo! Which you went to see and that I just listened to the soundtrack for.
Yes.
Or we listened to the soundtrack together.
The original big three stars that were in this were Tammy Blanchard, Jonathan Groff, and Christian Borle. Tammy Blanchard, I don't know a lot of her works, but
This would be R in this, right? They're still
yes, most of them are, except for Jonathan Groff, who left on the 21st. The role was taken over by Gideon Glick, who filled in for Jonathan Groff on the role of Seymour.
Do we know why he left?
Because the run got extended.
Oh, that'll do it.
So it got extended through about March 8th.
So they're doing well for themselves.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a good production. But Jonathan Groff, Christian Borle, Tammy Blanchard, big three stars. You know Jonathan Groff from Hamilton, playing King George. You also
Best song in the musical.
You also know him from Frozen and Spring Awakening.
Wait, hang on. Who did he play in Frozen?
He's Hans. Not Hans. He's not Hans. He's
the good guy. Kristoff.
He's Kristoff. Yes.
The guy with the reindeer.
Yeah.
Cool. Didn't realize. That's in the animated version.
You notice it now?
That's in the animated version.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you
I was gonna say, because in the Broadway version, Kristoff's a black guy. Yeah, I do hear it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to unhear that.
All right. But you also know him from Spring Awakening. Christian Borle, he's known for his good comedy chops. One of his most notable performances was in Something Rotten, where he won a Tony Award.
Good.
Yeah, and he was the dentist. And yeah, this is a star-studded cast. Tom Allen Robbins played a really good Mushnik. Kingsley Leggs. I didn't know this before I watched this production, but he was the first person to play Mr. on Broadway for the first production of Color Purple.
And it was when you mentioned that while we were listening to this that it clicked in my head and I put two and two together and realized that in the cartoon The Boondocks, the reason that Uncle Ruckus's abusive motherfucking dad was named Mista, because Uncle Ruckus's backstory is basically the Color Purple, but even more hilariously abusive.
Well, anyway, yeah, he played Audrey too.
He did a great job, Joe.
And guess what? All he has to do every night is just walk up on stage at the very end of Curtain Call after singing for the whole show.
I was gonna say he has to sing; it's not recorded.
Oh yeah, he sings backstage, probably with the SM and whoever's calling the show and the lights person.
Yeah.
He just sits back there and he just sings with a microphone, and then he walks up on stage, takes his bow, and then leaves for the night.
Not to undermine the amount of effort that takes, because he's delivering a great vocal
performance. Oh yeah. But he just, I mean, it's very funny because he's the least recognized because
you don't see his face. He's a puppet. He's voicing a puppet.
Yeah, he's not on stage.
I'm gonna say this with his performance, similar to my reaction to the portrayal of Moriarty in BBC's Sherlock. When he first shows up, my reaction was, "Oh, that's what they're doing? That's lame." And then about 30 seconds later, I'm like, "Oh, never mind. I'm on board. Holy crap, what a misdirection."
Yeah, because his
first line, he sounds so weak and pathetic. "Seymour, feed me."
But it's like
it's a baby voice.
Yeah, he's baiting Seymour. And that's the thing about this production.
And then as soon as he starts singing, he sounds so badass.
About being there and about listening to the soundtrack, they take real beats and they make real choices when they're doing things.
Well, there's two kinds of revival shows. There's the kind that says, let's just do the original but with new people. And then there's the kinds that says, what else could be done with this? And both have their merits. This is the what else can be done with it type.
Yeah, and okay, so when I went to see it, it was very classic Little Shop of Horrors. but I feel it's not the production I would direct. And for any of you who know, I'm a big fan of this show. I played Seymour once in high school. I have a very strong affection and love for this show. That being said,
yeah, affection, obsession, 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Anyway, just like, because when things get too comfortable in Little Shop of Horrors, it becomes just a ham show. It just becomes sticky.
Too easy. It's a comedy horror, and like with any comedy horror, there's a balance to be found, and it's with this one especially. There's a temptation to play it for pure comedy and pure shtick.
Yeah.
Which is the wrong choice.
And especially with Seymour, here's the thing I loved about Jonathan Groff's performance, especially in the soundtrack and in the production, is that he's very honest and because Seymour is the straight man.
Yeah.
Seymour's
the sucker.
As goofy and as clumsy and as baffly as he is, he's the straight man of the production because Audrey has to be an abused woman.
Nothing funnier than that, right?
Mushnick has to be an exaggerated Jewish stereotype. The dentist is a sadistic,
best honest to God, best
abusive
character,
person.
Best character in the show because somebody sat down and said, "Okay, so we're all scared of dentists as a kid. What if the dentist really was as evil as we thought he was?"
Which is great. Oh, and Christian Borle. Oh my God, he gives an amazing comedic performance. He uses almost everything to his advantage. He uses physical comedy.
I think the dentist is the only character in the show who is always pure comedy. Seymour's the straight guy, but he gets his moments at the end and with his moral dilemmas. Audrey is kind of a funny girlfriend in that she's a self-aware battered wife, but she also, again, in her final moments, she's really sad, and she does deliver a lot of pathos. Audrey, too, the plant, is goofy because it's a talking evil plant from outer space, but when it wants to be intimidating, it's intimidating. The dentist is just funny. Especially because he's kind of the starter villain,
I mean, he can be scary.
Can be, like, when he's, like, threatening to beat his girlfriend or all that. Or if you play I Am Your Dentist, a little rougher.
Like, okay, he doesn't play those things rough or anything. He actually plays those pretty casually because...
Okay, keep in mind I haven't seen this. I've just heard it.
Because he's just, like, every time he's taking the gas, he's getting amped up.
Right.
But also, every time he's talking to girls, he's like, "Hey, girls, I'm not that bad a guy."
Yeah, which we all know that guy exists. I have seen the movie of this. We got to do an episode a proper episode on the movie at some point.
Oh, yeah,
we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
We'll probably do one on the movie.
But my point was...
We'll probably do one on both the movies.
Ooh, wow, yeah, the old black and white one that inspired this whole mess. Yeah, ooh, that's a weird one.
It's a weird movie.
It is. It's not as good, but it's worth talking about. Anyway, to get back to my point, with the dentist, he largely is the comedic character, and that's because, to my mind anyway, okay, if you're savvy enough, you figure out that Audrey 2 is up to something right from the start, and if you know the plot, you know Audrey 2 is evil.
Yeah.
But assuming you're going into it totally blind,
yeah,
Audrey 2 isn't evil. And it seems like the dentist is the bad guy.
Yeah.
The sadistic dentist beating the poor innocent girl. But then he gets killed. And then we think, oh, maybe Mushnick's the bad guy because he's blackmailing. Nope, Mushnick's dead. Is Seymour the bad guy? Well, yes. But even more than that, the plant's the bad guy. So the dentist is goofy because he's the starter villain.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah. So
here's the other thing I wanted to mention about this. In terms of the soundtrack, before this, my least favorite production, but most favorite
the really well successful one,
but most favorite recording up to this point was the 2003 Broadway edition.
So you loved the recording but hated the production.
Mostly because they snuck in a lot of cool like guitar riffs and a lot of interesting, scary modernizations with that one.
I did notice in this one that it was clever. They eased off the electric guitar right up until Audrey 2 first starts talking, because since it's set in the 50s, as we all know, rock and roll is evil. So of course the evil plant gets the evil rock and roll electric guitar.
But
I love that detail.
Also, they use that to advantage in now it's just the gas, where it's just becomes every time
creepy, unsettling
and
with the guitar, like almost like deranged circus music on a guitar. Oh, the stuff you can do with that instrument.
This deranged circus music in the middle of the irregular orchestrations, just to make it feel like he's dying and he's getting more unhinged as he's getting more gassed up and he's laughing even harder.
The case has been made that almost 50% of what makes a successful horror movie successful is the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I 100% agree with that, but I get where they're coming from. And you totally do see that not only in classic horror like Halloween, but in horror musicals like this or like Sweeney Todd.
Remember before the what's it universe? The thing that has way too many spin-offs now, like The Nun and the
Conjuring?
The Conjuring universe.
God, The Conjuring.
That had an amazing first soundtrack. For the first and the second one, I remember being scared of that movie.
Oh, sure.
But
well, heck, to go back to the episode we just did, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The instrumentation, the soundtrack, such as it is just Tobe Hooper and the guy he got, I can't remember his name, but the guy he got to do the soundtrack working together, doing, by their own words, unspeakable things to old instruments and pieces of wood. And it sounds really screwed up.
I mean, to get the unsettling sounds for the Joker in the
they dragged a straight razor over a violin string to get that whine that builds in his theme.
Yeah. Anyway, you're talking about soundtracks is so much fun, but like in this one, they try to sneak all these different like weird, quirky sci-fi elements with the keyboard.
Which makes sense since Audrey 2 is totally from space.
Yeah. And
mean green mother from outer space.
Yeah, the one
one song that's in the movie and not in the
play.
Because almost every movie adaptation of a musical has to come up with some new song of their own so they can try to win Best Original Song.
Yeah.
In the case of Little Shop of Horrors, it happened to just be an awesome song, though, so we all win.
Yeah.
Again, we'll touch on that when we do the movie.
But I think they did a lot of clever stuff with this this production. Also, let's talk about Audrey.
Audrey the girl.
Audrey the girl.
Audrey, not Audrey 2.
She's often played as kind of a muse, kind of ditzy.
An ingenue, almost.
Yeah.
The stereotypical frail, battered woman who must be rescued.
Yes. In this, she's played...
edgier.
She's played exactly how she's written. Because she's a battered woman. She was at a low point when she started. She's still at a low point.
She's aware of the fact that she's in an abusive relationship. She doesn't have any delusions about her abusive dentist boyfriend, like, oh no, he doesn't mean it. She just thinks he's the only person who would ever love me.
Yeah.
Because I'm filth. And that's really depressing for a comedy.
She has this thick New York type of...
she sounds like a tough.
Yeah, like a tough, like a really city accent.
They didn't go with the Harley Quinn kind of...
yeah, but she's like...
voice. They went with almost like you could picture her being a chain smoker.
Yeah. Every time I dream of just off the interstate, like
Stop it. You can't mimic the voice.
I can't mimic it, but like you get the idea. It's like I don't know.
Yeah, no, they play her as worn down and embittered almost.
The coolest part, and this is having seen the production, her most beautiful and radiant moment is at the very end of Suddenly Seymour, when Seymour and her are embracing, and they're caught in a specific stage light that just makes them both glow so much. And it's really the highest point of feeling and triumph in the show, because it's the big win.
Well, sure, that's the high point for the characters. And since, Little Shop of Horrors is a tragedy, arguably a classically structured Greek tragedy. Who does he kill? Enemy, father, lover, self. There's a fatal flaw of him being too much of a jerk to think about anyone other than himself. He even refers to Audrey as the only thing he ever loved. As soon as I get this next deal from Time magazine?
Yeah.
Then I'll kill the plant that requires me to murder people and feed them to it. And it is kind of cathartic at the end. And at the end there's even a message, a moral. Don't feed the plants.
Yeah.
An anti-environmentalist message for our time. No, the plants are a metaphor for your own dark impulses that will make you say, I can screw someone over just to get ahead in the world. Or kill someone or whatever. It can be read as a few things. It's deliberately ambiguous. But it's a tragedy. So, of course, they have a high point. Because if you don't have a high point, you have to have somewhere to fall from in order to fall. That's why Death of a Salesman falls flat for some people. Some people are like, I don't care about Willy Loman. He's already a pathetic bum. So what if he falls? I disagree with that point, but it's a point that can be made.
Okay.
But not about this one. This one they actually do manage to achieve enough that their disaster means something.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think
Would have been hilarious if you had just ended that sentence there. I don't know.
I think that with Little Shop of Horrors, it should really make you laugh as hard as you can and cry as hard as you will.
Well, let's go back to our first episode, Krampus.
Yeah.
Krampus was a horror comedy.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have worked nearly as well if they'd said pure horror, or, as funny as it was, if they just said, nope, nothing scary, it's just goofy.
Yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors is intrinsically kind of goofy, because A, it's a comedy, and B, evil, talking, singing, man-eating plant from outer space. The original movie tried to play that straight, and like we said, weird. But it hits the right balance. And as a result, it's very successful.
Let's talk about one more thing. Let's talk about the urchins.
The urchins.
Yeah.
The Greek chorus.
Yes, the Greek chorus, the girls.
The ladies.
Yeah.
The trio of sexy singing black ladies.
Yes. They are played by Ari Grover, Salome Smith, and Joy Woods. And
okay.
I did not see Ari Grover. I saw Joy Woods playing Crystal.
Grover was sick, or...
Yeah, I guess.
They needed an understudy, was the point.
And...
Show must go on.
Chelsea Turbin played Chiffon.
Gotcha.
Chelsea Turbin was...
the understudy for Audrey, right?
Yes.
Nifty.
So I had one white person in the Greek chorus.
I have to ask this question.
Yeah.
For the dance numbers and such, like for the bits where they're
walking.
Oh yeah,
out. They were all in sync.
Did they put her in the middle?
Yes.
Good, because that's just good staging. If you have two people who look one way and one person who looks the other way, it's good to frame them.
Oh, I mean, yeah, just...
Same with costume designs. If you've got two people in red suits and one guy in a blue suit, you put the guy in the blue suit in the middle or it looks wrong.
Yeah.
Theater kids, staging.
Anyway, I thought they all did really well. I think none of them are, or maybe they're not all like less strong singers. Maybe they just don't pull out as many power moves as the 2003 production. I have no idea.
But to be fair, they do kind of always sing together in this.
Yes, and they are a unit, and they are always... and they're good as a unit, and I like that because they are ultimately a chorus, not people that should be
getting solos.
All sent out on one-off riffs.
Yeah.
And the riffs were cool and crazy in the 2003 production, but like I personally think they really just work well
as a singular Greek chorus. We always talk together. They also, in this production that we just listened to and that you got to see, have them not just sing backup for the usual ways. They added them as backup singers for Audrey 2, The Plant.
Yeah. I mean, they gave some little background stuff for the other productions, but like...
This was really amped up, though.
Yeah, they were more involved. They were repeating almost everything he said. And I think when they act as an echo and a chorus for more than one character, I think it strengthens it.
Because it makes them feel more like the omniscient Greek chorus. Well, I mean, at the end, after Seymour's dead and Audrey's dead and Mushnik's everybody's dead and the plants are taking over the world.
Yeah.
Again, that's why it had to be a comedy. You could play it straight. You could, but it would take work. The point is, the world's being eaten by alien plants, and the Greek chorus is still singing about it.
Yeah.
So obviously they're outside of the events. Yeah. They're talking to us. Right when the plants burst in, they ate, Brooklyn and New York and this theater. Yeah. And then the plants attack. Oh, God, that's great.
It's really, the attack is
How'd they stage it in this one?
I don't...
When they say "and this theater," did a bunch of vines drop down from the balcony? They did that in one production.
They did that in one production. They didn't quite do that in this one. The plant... I don't really want to reveal too much. The plant moved forward, and some of its vines slipped off of the stage and flumped onto the ground. But
nifty.
But everyone was in plant costumes. Everyone's taken over.
Well, of course, sure, that's standard.
Yeah.
Or in the flower faces, which is a shout out to the old black and white one.
Yeah.
Where the victims turned into talking flowers. I don't think the problem with the black and white one was that it took it seriously. I think the problem with the black and white one was they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah. We're going to watch both of them.
Yeah.
We'll watch both of them. We'll watch the black and white one. We'll watch the movie. And
so what else do we have to say about the production we just dealt with?
The production we just dealt with. I don't really know that there's a whole lot else to say. It's a really fun, well balanced between comedy and tragedy and horror. It's
I guess I have one more question.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
How many evolutions did they put the puppet of Audrey 2 through?
So it's
because I love puppets.
So the puppet is always the best part of the show. It's one of the most ingenious parts of set pieces in theater. So
what did they do? So obviously it starts out as the potted plant. How many versions?
It's 4 stages typically.
4 stages.
And it's 4 stages in this production.
Awesome.
In my production in high school, it was 3 stages. But only because we couldn't build anything bigger than
So in this version, though, it starts out as a potted plant.
Yes.
And it ends as the world-destroying vines attacking the audience version.
Yeah.
So in the middle, they just went to, what, human-sized and then giant-sized?
So it typically starts as a potted plant, a larger potted plant that needs to be held with both hands, a potted plant in the middle of the shop.
Like one of those giant ones you'd see in a museum.
So super huge that it takes up most of the room, and then it's on the wall.
And that's what they did in this one?
And the vines are attached to the wall, and everything.
And that's what they did in this one?
Yes.
Awesome. Did they, in terms of the design of the fully fledged evil plant, did they do anything to differentiate it from the usual design, or was it still the usual... pitcher plant meets Venus flytrap meets avocado.
It's still basically the Venus flytrap meets avocado.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, if you didn't know, the original design of Audrey 2 for the original off-Broadway production in the 80s was based off of a Venus flytrap and an avocado. They just colored it orange so nobody noticed.
That's amazing. All right, well, this has been a short little mini-sode. I don't know how many of these we're going to do, but we'll do them from time to time.
This production will be going through March 8th. It's at the Westside Theatre in New York City. It's off Broadway. It is a great production. You should see it.
To all of our
theater going.
ones of viewers
One.
currently.
Yeah.
So there are like 5 people listening to this at the moment. But anyway, this has been a Minisode. We hope you guys liked it. I have been Ghastly.
I have been gruesome.
We've been the Graveyard Ghouls. Have a great one.